Awesome. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining the Improving Farm Resilience webinar. Um, this webinar is hosted by the Ontario Soil Network in partnership with Soils at Guelph, the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, and the Farm Resilience Mentorship with FCS. So today, just a little bit of an overview. We'll be doing some brief intros, some housekeeping and context setting, and that will be my job. Um, then I'll pass the mic to Laura, where we can learn about resiliency with long-term cover cropping. Next, we'll jump into the farmer panel with Dean Orr, Steve Sickle, and Thomas Farrell. And then, unfortunately, Jake Monroe is unable to attend today. He got sick, so he's not able to make it. But then we'll be able to jump into the open discussion and question period. And we'll also have time for questions following Laura's presentation. So make sure you write down your questions, and we'll have lots of time to kind of chat about those. So I wanted to give a brief overview for those of you who don't know. I know we have a bunch of OSN alumni in the call right now, but for those of you who don't know, the Ontario Soil Network is a peer-to-peer farmer-led network of more than 150 members and growing each year. We support farmers through different events like this one or in person in the field in the summertime, different funding programs and applied research projects. The OSN was born from Cover Crops Anonymous. So it's designed to be a place where farmers can, and other soil health enthusiasts and agronomists can bounce ideas off each other in a supportive and productive way to be able to advance soil health in Ontario. So the OSN has members located across the province. So this map kind of shows that distribution. We have a good representation across Southern Ontario, and we're just starting to make our way into the north. You can see we have one member quite a bit further north there. And then you can see a few group pictures from 2017 when the OSN was kind of first formalized, and then from our 2025 road trip on the top there. I then wanted to introduce our staff. So the Ontario Soil Network, there's 4 full-time staff. So I'm the research and demonstration coordinator. On the call with us today, we have Paige and Ian. So Paige is our program coordinator and Ian is our marketing and comms coordinator. And then Tori Waugh is our executive director, but she wasn't able to make it tonight. So yeah, I'll be kind of facilitating the discussion today, and Paige and Ian will be able to support in the chat and any other way that is needed. And now a little bit of a background on how this webinar kind of came to be. So I think everybody here knows like 2025 was a bit of a tough year. It was a cold, wet start, and then pretty droughty across the province. So with different conversations with different growers, I was hearing that the use of certain practices have really helped people kind of build resilience on their farms. So as we kind of go through these presentations and we listen to the farmer panel, I would encourage those in attendance to kind of think about why building resilience is important and maybe what that looks like on your farm or for your business, and how we can work to continue to improve resilience in those farms that we work with, and that sort of thing. And yeah, so now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Laura Van Eerd, professor at the School of Environmental Sciences at the Ridgetown campus, also the Charlotte Products Chair in Net Zero Soil Management and co-director of Soils at Guelph, to give us a brief 20-minute presentation on building resiliency with long-term cover cropping. And I will stop my share and hand it over to you, Laura, and you can take it away. Oh, you're muted still.
And then you see my speaker notes?
I do, yep.
Perfect. Now I think we have
Perfect.
everything.
Yep. Looks great.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Yeah, it's I like your definition of resiliency. And so today we'll talk about some other long term experiments, but most of it's going to focus on my long-term cover crop experiment. Um, when I think of resiliency, I think of soil health, and I think of when you've got, build your soil health, and maybe they're like puzzles, right? Puzzle pieces. When you have all the pieces together for soil health, you're less reliant on those external inputs. And in this case, it's water. Um, I would kind of like to add the fertilizer bag, the pesticide jug, and I wonder if we also might be getting enhanced yields with soil health and with resiliency. And so maybe that could be one of the questions for the farmer panel in what they're seeing on their farms. In my long-term cover crop experiment, we are definitely seeing greater yields. But before I get there, let's start with what we've learned in the tillage and crop rotation experiments at Elora and at Richtown. So these are experiments that were established in 1980 and 1995, where we have small grains, so winter wheat or oats and barley, sometimes with red clover or without. And then we also have the alfalfa. But just the value of small grains in the rotation, the numbers are 15% greater yields with corn and 13% in soybeans by having the winter wheat or the small grains in the rotation. And, these are kind of, I don't know if people think of them as cartoons, but there's a lot of published scientific research that has contributed to getting these numbers. And I'll highlight the late great Ken Janovik's publication here that showed profitability with winter wheat in the rotation. Once you consider the full rotation. And they have looked at those extreme weather years and saw that corn yields are less impacted by drought, waterlogging when you have winter wheat in the rotation, um, and less need for nitrogen inputs when you have winter wheat in the rotation. Now, the one time we know wheat straw will immobilize nitrogen, but that long-term improvement of soil health has led to a lower need for fertilizer inputs with winter wheat in rotation. So this is probably something you've seen before. However, I think it's pretty valuable to set that scene about what can be achieved with just having winter wheat or oats or barley in the rotation. And so I have a long-term experiment which was established in '07 and '08. Horticultural crops, so that's processing veg. So we grew some tomatoes, squash, peas, sweet corn, and as is pretty typical in southwestern Ontario here, we would also grow beans and field corn and winter wheat in that over those years. And so our cover crops, they're permanent cover crop like their annual cover crops in a permanent plot. So that piece of land is dedicated to fall planting of cover crops, either oats, radish, cereal rye, and a mix of radish and rye. And we compare that to a no cover crop. And don't forget, right, in '07 having a mix when Anne Verhollen said, "Hey, do you want to put in a mix, Laura?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we were like, "Whoa, we're so novel, right?" Um, but that was what was available at the time. Um, so you could see in the background the corn that's had previously been tomatoes. Uh, and then we plant cover crops, then we grew corn. And a year later, we did the same thing. So two side-by-side experiments. And then here I kind of penciled out the whole crop rotation. So you could kind of see that in a, like over those years, and we're coming close to 20 years now, we have grains in the system and we have quite a bit of processing veg. And what the processing veg allow us to do is have a very wide window to grow cover crops. We're also in the south, so we have later of our first frost. Um, as you can see, over those almost 20 years, we've protected the soil quite a lot with our cover crop treatment. So only after grain corn or when we plant winter wheat do we not have those cover crop treatments in the fields. And so you can see here kind of a nice example picture of the oats and compared to rye, just for comparison. We're on a nice sandy loam texture. Ignore that orthic humic glacial. Uh, we're on a beautiful sandy loam. We didn't start at the worst part of the farm to say cover crops work. It's nice sandy loam with 3.4% organic matter. Um, and you can see there the P and K and CEC. So we do manage the soil and check, right? We will lime. We have limed before. Um, we're managing the soil as a producer typically would. So that means incorporating of crop residues and incorporating of cover crops through tillage. So that's kind of sets the scene relatively quickly. I could go into more details if you have any specific questions, but what I want to do is take you to 2019. So by 2019, we have had long-term, right? We're more than 10 years. I think it's fair to say long-term cover crop. And we partnered with the Soil Health Institute as part of their North American-wide study. So it wasn't just my team, my PhD student measuring soil health. We had independent with the Soil Health Institute. And so what we found with their data is that 22 of the 56 indicators of soil health had a statistical increase in soil health. And that was from 2 to 35% greater lab values in terms of soil health. And so to me, that's a good indication that the cover crops are changing the soil. And that's compared to the no cover crop control, right? That increase. And so in 2019, we grew tomatoes and we asked the question, does better soil health give you better plant resilience, right? And if we're growing tomatoes, it's disease. And so we tested that. And we collaborated with Dr. Cheryl Truman. She's the plant pathologist who her team scouted over the season. Her team assessed the fruit at harvest, and we did see in 2019 lower incidence of an anthracnose on the fruit. And this reduction in disease was pretty similar to what she would say in her fungicide trials, like when she was doing that type of research. Now, it wasn't consistent in both years, right? So we have to remember the disease triangle. You need all sides of that triangle, and it just wasn't, 2020 just wasn't a very anthracnose heavy uh, year. But the similar trend, right? Less disease. And what we saw in the field was those plants, they shut down quicker with the no cover crop. Um, and so, for me, like my bias is soil health. So I'm like, yeah, the cover crops improve soil health, and then we have less disease. She would say, Laura, we don't have that direct cause and effect, and she's right. However, we do see less disease with those cover crops. Okay, so after tomatoes, we planted cover crops and then we planted corn. So this data here shows 4 site years of corn in a nitrogen limiting environment. So we want to push that system, right? We want to say how much has this long-term cover crop given to our corn. And so what we see is higher yields statistically for radish and rye and oats. And numerically for the rye by itself. So this is the long-term effect of cover cropping. We know in those earlier years, oats would immobilize nitrogen, rye would immobilize nitrogen. But what we have pretty good evidence is that the increases in soil organic carbon and organic matter are providing nitrogen to our corn crop. And so I can show you that right now. So this is Yajin Peng, and she measured the soil organic carbon stock. And so if it's 0, it was no different than the no cover crop control. And at the 30-centimeter depth, we have 14% increase in soil organic carbon stocks. And even to depth, right? 60 centimeters. Those long-term cover crops have built organic stocks, organic carbon stocks. And the corn crop is responding to that. So here we put it in relative terms so that we could normalize across years, but it's just like we took the highest and then made the numbers relative to the highest value. And then plotted, so this is soil organic carbon stock, so to the 30-centimeter depth. And we plotted that relative to corn grain yield. So very, very nice relationship where the greater your organic carbon stock, the greater your corn yields. And I guess, you would kind of say, yeah, Laura, thank you, Captain Obvious. Organic matter, organic carbon is important. And yes, if you have more organic matter, organic carbon, you would expect to have greater yields. But I think what's really, to me, what I think is really powerful is that we did this in such a short amount of time. This is 15 years. Now, some people will say, yeah, 15 years isn't short, but it is in terms of soil and soil management. And so Yajin went on to characterize nitrogen cycling, and we could see it in the corn. So we think the organic matter is cycling and providing nitrogen to that corn crop. And we were even more convinced that it's the long-term cover cropping and not just the short term because we put it to the test. We did the experiment where we sacrificed a small area of the no cover crop control and we planted first time cover crops. So here you can see our plots, and we kind of just said, okay, let's plant it for the first time in this piece of ground. And we did it in 2022 and 2023. And so now we can say first long-term no cover crop. And the corn was responsive with no cover cropping. Again, we pushed the system, right? We did not fertilize our corn because we want to know what could these cover crops contribute. And so the no cover crops were deficient. They were shorter, yellow. You knew they were hurting for nitrogen. And the first time was in between. And then here we have the yields. And so we can see that, again, the same thing, greater yields with long-term cover cropping, 27 bushel in those 2 years, right? And less variability in yield. So that's less variability is what we want. We want consistent yields over time. She went further to look at the different pathways from which the cover crops are providing nitrogen to the corn crop. We measured SPAD readings and optical sensor to get numbers to say that it's nitrogen that was being provided with the long-term cover crop. But basically, when you have like I like to think of it as many different pathways trying to get your crop, that corn crop nitrogen. So there's the microbial community, there's the structure, there's the organic matter, like many pathways. So it's not just our experiment showing that. If we look at the North American wide experiment that the Soil Health Institute did, on average, a 12% increase in soil organic carbon across North America. It does vary, but most of it is the very east and west with precipitation is the main driver there. And so we're kind of always thinking about, well, how can this be? And I think there's two main ways of how, right? We're minimizing these losses, which are things we don't want to see. And like our soil surfaces, that's the main spot where soil organic matter, soil carbon, nutrients are. And then we are like mycorrhiza says, we're capturing sunlight and capturing carbon and feeding the soil microbial community. And what they need is the carbon. That's the energy, that's the currency below ground is carbon. And it's all through photosynthesis. So that's kind of the summary and kind of two really nice pieces of evidence of resilience with cover crops, right? The nitrogen and disease. And so then we wondered, well, does this work out in the landscape, right? So could we measure soil health? OMAFA was coming out with SHAP, which is the Soil Health Assessment and Plan, and they had gone across on Ontario to see, right? Are these management practices showing what we might expect with soil organic matter? And so so I have a ground truthing project of SHAP where we invited um, the farm community to submit their samples, and it was sent to the university lab for these five SHAP indicators. So soil organic matter, active carbon, respiration, potentially mineralizable nitrogen, aggregate stability. And part of this ground truthing project was that, we would like to know a bit about the production system that this soil came from. And one of the questions was, are you using cover crops? And here's some preliminary data. So no and the yes. So we have statistically higher aggregate stability, respiration, active carbon, and organic matter in these Ontario farmer or CCA submitted samples. So it is holding true. Now, there's lots of variability. We know there's lots of variability across Ontario. It is holding true. And then we asked about other practices. So you might be thinking, what has the most influence of all of the data? And its cropping system is number one that has the influence on these soil health indicators, and then tillage intensity. And so cropping system was significant for all of these indicators. Tillage intensity, just a few. We also asked about a few other management practices, such as residue removal, perennials, and organic amendments. And we're trying to learn more about which are the most responsive to management, which ones can we, would we recommend moving forward? And so that's a little bit of what we've been doing to take it from our small plots to the province. Um, and we have another about 500 samples to add to that database. And we call it ground truthing because there's a lot of work to be done in terms of SHAP and soil health when we take it from, small plot to the landscape. Um, and so finally, I'd like to just thank our funding partners and my research team, right? There was a couple of names at the beginning of the slide. So research associate Inderjot Chahal, who does the soil health work, Yajin Peng, who did the cover crop long term, more recent work, and then Sean Vink, who's my research technician who gets it all done. There's many other graduate students. It's a big team. Summer students, fall students. We have cover crops. We have quite a bit of fall, and I'm really grateful for their efforts. They make it fun, and I really appreciate that and all of the funding. So thank you so much. I'm gonna stop sharing now and turn it over to Lorraine.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. We have a couple of minutes for questions here. So if people have any questions for Laura, feel free to unmute yourself. You can turn your camera on if you'd like, or you can pop your questions into the chat. If nobody has any questions right off the bat, I had a thought about how the production system kind of like it was the biggest factor and how that might be a little bit discouraging for people who might not have those big opportunities for cover crops. But it was nice to see that Ontario data where the cover crops did have a significant impact. Do you have
Mhm.
any like comments on that?
Yeah, the cropping system. So the good news is that we are working really closely with our OMAFA specialists. So a big shout out to Dan Sarrett and Jake Monroe. We know that inherent texture properties are also driving it. And that was one thing I should have mentioned that with these soil health indicators, we always standardize it for, a medium coarse and fine textured soil because your cropping system is somewhat by what soil type you have and what topography you have and how close you are to the processor. So we recognize that. We also know that like we have soil enthusiasts who've decided to submit their soil through this program. So about 270 of that 460 was no cover crop, and 186 was with cover crop. I don't think that's that ratio of yes and no cover cropping isn't the full scope of the province. So there's a lot of work to do to make sure that people don't jump to conclusions. Yeah. And for cropping systems, that's also like we have to keep in mind that it could have been pasture or like alfalfa, right? And is that a cover crop? Like, well, no, that would have went into the perennials. But yeah, so there's lots of nuances in there that we're working very hard with to tease apart.
Yeah, awesome. Norm asked in the chat, how much nitrogen was required to go from the 145 bushel 0N trial to your highest yielding plot?
Yeah, um so let's say it's 146 to yeah, so let's say it's 50 bushels just to keep round numbers and 1% nitrogen in our grain. So and then similar amount in the stover. So it is quite a quite a bit of nitrogen that's coming from your soil. Um we yeah, we don't have a good relationship um kind of nitrogen content in the plant versus soil organic matter didn't the relationship wasn't as strong.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, Norm, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, sorry, Laura. Maybe just to clarify. So if your highest yielding plot, I don't know what the number was, but let's say it was 200 bushels, how many pounds of nitrogen did you feed that crop to get to that extra amount?
Oh, to feed the cover crop or feed the corn crop?
No, to feed the corn, to feed the corn.
Yeah, so in those 4 site years of data, we in the first two we just gave it starter, so 12 pounds. And then the next year we didn't give the corn any nitrogen inputs. I feel like I'm missing something, and maybe I can, if I'm missing something, maybe you can put it in the chat and I can think about it while others. What am I missing, Norm? I think I'm missing something.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering how much you fed the highest yielding corn in those plots. So if your high yielding corn that you gave nitrogen to was 200 bushels, how many pounds of nitrogen did you give it?
We didn't apply any in 2 of those years. Um, and we 12 in the first 2 years, like in those 4 site years. So 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Yeah, we are on nice sandy loam soil that is it's forgiving, and there is a lot cycling. So we could get 150 bushels without fertilizer and more with the long-term cover cropping. Yeah, wild,
Yeah. Awesome.
right? Like that's the value, Norm, like we talked last week of having those zero nitrogen strips in the field. Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions for Laura? If not, we'll jump to our farmer panel.
Laura, I do have one quick question. So
Yeah,
your
Dean.
experiment that you did with the no cover, the first year cover and the long-term cover
Mhm.
into corn, what was the cover crop for that first year cover? Was it a nitrogen fixing?
No. So that's still in that same experiment with radish, oats, rye, and radish. So that data that we said, so um yeah, is both both the radish, like it's all of those together to give a mean. So they're not legume cover crops.
Well, it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, so not statistically, the first time cover crop wasn't statistically different than the no cover crop and wasn't statistically different than the long-term cover crop. But there was quite a bit of it had the most variability in yield. Like, and we know that from first time, right? Like there's adjustments and all those things. Um, yeah. And so I think in those, I still have to look at the rainfall, like kind of in the early spring, like in March, to see how much might have leached away in March and April. I think we were a little bit drier, but yeah. I Yep, surprising. I know. It's amazing, really. Okay.
Awesome. We will jump now to the farmer panel. So I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you, Laura. Let me move this. Okay. Can you guys see my screen all right? Okay. Next up, we have our farmer panel. So I'm happy to introduce Steve Sickle, Thomas Farrell, and Dean Orr. Steve, you're going first, by the way, to chat a little bit about their operations and resiliency on their own farms. So yeah, Steve, you can take it away. I also added another photo of this because we had a picture from your field day of you digging with other farmers. So I thought that it suited the topic well, but you can take it away now.
Cool. Thanks, Lorraine. Uh, Steve Sickle, thanks for joining tonight. I farm between Brantford and Cambridge on some hilly ground. I farm corn, soybeans, wheat, hay, and edible beans, and I have 25 beef cows that I rotationally graze on grass. But if it rains enough, I can feed them for about 10 and a half months of the year grazing versus taking them hay. I'll let you change slides when you see fit. This is we're looking at Azuki beans here that when we talk about resilience gives you have to be resilient when you go down the soil health journey, because you're going to learn with your wallet. And one of those big learnings is slugs, and that's what we're looking for here, is for slugs. In 24, I almost replanted all my soybeans because of slugs. So we're still learning about that. And hopefully for next year, I want to put liquid on my bean planter, and hopefully one of my solutions, I think, is to put some iron, plant available iron in my seed trench to hopefully get that into the seedlings. So the slugs take one bite of that plant and go, that doesn't taste good, and they eat something else for me. So next slide. So this is a cover crop after wheat. So I have a 5-year rotation of corn, soybeans, wheat, and I put cereal rye after my grain corn, and after soybeans, it doesn't go to wheat. But then after wheat, I will burn down, wait for rainfall, let the volunteer wheat regrow, and then spray it with Roundup alone. I was using Aragon to control fleabane, but I find my fleabane is better controlled in the spring with Infinity, because now I'm finding I'm getting better legumes establishment because of not using Aragon as a burn down. But then I'm not wasting my time planting that cover crop, is because I have very limited amount of wheat coming up with competing with my cover crop. So there's my cows grazing. That was this past November, fairly late in the year, because we didn't have rain, and my cover crop didn't get started we didn't get it planted till mid-August because we had no rain. It's a mix, 60% oats, some Austrian winter peas, some forage peas, some crimson clover. This is the first year I've taken out brassicas because they are a host for slugs. And then that gets 5 tons of chicken manure typically around Labor Day. So one thing I'm learning, and what I want to learn this winter, I kind of had a aha moment late this fall, in that we spread chicken manure early on a farm. I have to truck it with my dump trucks, and we only spotted enough in that field to do half the field. So my son spread it, so I didn't know where he spread other than the application map on the tractor. Got back there a month and a half later, and I could not tell where he had spread. All the oats are big, green, growthy, and had to go to a hockey game in London for my son. I'm in Watford right now for a hockey game, but we went the back way, and I noticed a lot of yellow oats on my travels. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, because my agronomist said, oh, it's because of the extra nitrogen on your wheat. I said, well, wait a minute. We had a 4 to 6 inch rain the end of June that should have washed a lot of that out of the system. And then I got back home, and I finally got off the farm again and drove around. It's like, hey, there's some yellow oats in my neighborhood too. So it's not the environment. It's my system is giving me plant available nitrogen, phosphorus, K. So I'm on a bit of a warpath here with WEOC, which is water extractable organic carbon, which is plant available nutrients for plants. And I did a test. Brandon Glennie came to my farm and re-sampled this fall of my 5 SWAT zones, and we sent it to Next Level Ag. I haven't got the results yet. Looking forward to that. But I opted out of we SWAT mapped all my wheat stubble this year, and I pulled the trigger, and we're not spreading any phosphorus or potash until spring, if we're going to spread it all. Because I did a preliminary test apparently back in the spring. I didn't know I had one done, but I got the results this fall, and the guy says, what are you spreading MAP and potash? These numbers are the highest we've ever seen. So I think that I'm almost at the cusp of I can monetarily put a value on my cover cropping system and my soil health regime, that I can start pulling back on my nutrient applications. So I'm excited for that, because I think soil health is not going to change on a grand scheme for farmers until we can say, hey, this is making me so much money, or I'm saving this much money. So I think I'm getting close. So this is a picture here. I'm planting, and I'm on lots of slopes. So this left picture here, that's 120 feet of elevation in 800 feet. And I'm planting edible beans there. that was planting small red kidney beans this past spring. And I sprayed it, that cereal rye that was planted last fall, RTS'd in with a Salford, like just straight wavy blades, 40 to 50 pounds. Typically I'll be spreading that now. We got winter now, so I haven't got all my cereal rye spread. That also got an application of a biological on the corn stalks last year too, and I think that does make a difference. So that got a burn down, and I never did have to come back in crop to spray those edible beans. 2 fields treated exactly the same, and both fields didn't have to be resprayed at all in season. And they were spotless. They were clean, and that's where I'm finding as I get further down in this cover crop journey and soil health, my chemical bill is getting a lot smaller. So this is the first corn I planted this past spring. That's cereal rye. And I'm not finding an allelopathic effect on rye as well planting corn. I got chicken manure typically on, if it's got cereal rye, I'm typically spreading chicken manure at 5 tons the acre on that up front. I use a weed and feed nitrogen, 20 gallons, and then come back in crop with Y dropping. But I'm not finding a yield penalty from using cereal rye. Next picture. This is planting wheat after soybeans. Actually, this was after soybeans. But I use this gauge as when you're looking over the hood planting wheat, can you see your corn rows from 2 years prior? And in this picture, I can't. And there's places in some fields where I can see the old corn rows, and that tells me something's going on that's not right. But in this picture, I can't see old corn rows. So that tells me my biology is consuming those corn stalks, and I've got those nutrients probably back in close to an available form in the soil. But at least I'm not dealing with all that residue on the surface, which can be a conundrum or a problem planting wheat. Next picture. So here's another slope. You can't tell by this picture. I'm looking up at the sky, but that's a 20% slope. I had to put the combine in first gear to climb this hill and have it in 4-wheel drive, but I'm pulling 250 bushel corn off this slope. This is on my front. If anybody's been to my place, that's my front hill. And we had 0.8 inches of rain in July and 1.1 inches in August. And I'm keeping my soil on my hills now, and I'm producing a decent crop. Even my sharp knolls at the back, I picked that just a week ago, and 160 bushel corn where I thought I'd be picking 80 bushel corn. So I'm getting more resilience and holding more. The water is going in. Like I said, we had a big rain the end of June, but we're getting it to go into the ground where it falls instead of running to the hollows, because when it runs to the hollows, it doesn't help a hill like this at all. So it's just helping my water infiltration to get it in the soil and then hold it in that sponge for longer when we don't have rain, because that's what it seems we're doing. We get big rains and then we get nothing. So we got to be able to hold it. And is that my last picture, Lorraine?
Yep, that's it.
I guess
Awesome.
I'm probably long enough. I can let the next guy go. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. And Thomas.
All right, I'm Thomas Farrell. I farm just outside Kincardine, kind of between Kincardine, Ripley, and Burvey areas, I guess. In that picture there, that's who I farm with: my wife, my 3 children, my parents, my brother, and my grandfather. We farm dairy and cash crop mix. I kind of look after the crops. My brother's the herdsman, and we help each other out. Next picture. So we're corn, soybeans, wheat, alfalfa as we need. We've been moving more and more into spring termination or planting green-ish. We're not actually no-till. We're minimum till, strip till on all the corn. We do things a little bit differently. 2 years ago, we got Montag carts. You can see there in the picture. We inject nitrogen now 6 inches down in the spring with a shank machine. We've been having very, very good luck since we started doing that. That was kind of my moment. I got digging roots with the strip till and noticing that the roots were going straight down once we got more into cover crop and strip till. Whereas before, whether it was back in the primary tillage days or we were trying to arch ahead of the corn planter, our roots were going out, down, and kind of out everywhere. Once we got into this full system, now the roots went down. That got me thinking there was no point in applying surface applying nitrogen everywhere because we were putting it on residue, we were putting it on everything else, and I did no longer believe that we were getting all that nitrogen to the corn plant. Since we started putting the nitrogen like this, we've it's been 2 years. It's a little soon to say maybe, but last 2 years we broke records on just about every field we've done this on. So it seems to be working combined with the cover crops. Next picture, next slide, I should say. So that on the left-hand side, that's what we planted into. So that was cover crop was waist high. We always run our strips. We come back, we roll them with just a smooth drum roller. And on the right-hand side, that's what was left at harvest. Very little residue left, really, considering. I should say our farm, we farm near Lake Huron. The closer we are to the lake, we've got some extremely rolly land, very cut up with runways and rivers and everything else. We farm every type of soil. We've got right from a Brookston clay to a pretty much blow sand. So kind of trying this on every kind of soil you can imagine. And it's been pretty consistent. So next picture, I guess. Oh, we're also trying to plant our soybeans green whenever possible. This year, we're not going to be doing much of that. The only rye I got in is on our corn silage field. And I've given up on it for this year. Way we usually get the rye out, we modified our Salford RTS to pull behind our air cart. We've got a distributor bar we built across the front of the air cart so we can apply rye and variable rate potash as we move further in. We've started swap mapping some farms and starting into more variable rate to try to balance things. Because kind of as Steve was saying, I've got areas I know there is no reason to be applying, but I've got other parts that I feel I still do need some. So as I said, this year we will not. In 2026, we won't be planting a lot of green, but we've had excellent luck doing it that way. Next picture. We keep our dairy cattle on compost pack. I feel that is a big help for us. We truck a lot of the compost to further away farms and keep a lot of the liquid close by. As I've done, we've built that barn 10 years ago, so I guess we've cleaned the barn out 9 times now. I can't help but think that there's something to the biology that the compost provides that does a little bit more than the regular manure does. So this year, the first time we've kind of done it, this year we applied a low rate of compost, just 1 ton to the acre on the farms close to the dairy farm as well, and then put higher rates on farms further away just to try to use it as a little bit of an inoculum. We didn't finish every one of the fields. It'll be interesting to follow it through and see if we do find anything from that. Next slide. Another thing we do, so we run a percentage of our wheat acres. We put sorghum Sudan grass in after. We use that as a secondary feed, feed a lot of heifers and some dry cows on it. Found very high tonnage, low disease, and it really does a lot to open up the soil. Cheap to grow as well. And this year I didn't run it over a scale to say for sure, but I would estimate we got at least 6 to 7 ton to the acre planted after wheat with very little rain in that window. So it's been working well for us and helping the resiliency a bit, building lots of soil health, and corn really seems to do well after as well.
Awesome.
I'm going to head to the next, see if I
Nope,
sent
you're
anything
good. You're
else.
off the hook now
Okay.
until we get to the questions.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. So Dean, it's now your turn. I moved this picture here just to like make it bigger, but everything else is the same.
Great, thank you. So everyone, my name's Dean Orr. As you can see by the picture, we farm probably closer to the city than just about anyone. here. We're in Nobleton. A lot of the fields we rent are in kind of what's left in the north half of Vaughan there, which is great when you want to sell maple syrup out of the driveway. Maybe not so great when you want to source some manure or get some nice timely cover crop applications. There's a lot of fragmented fields that we rent. They're tough to get to sometimes. So we cash crop primarily. We do about 2,200 acres of conventional. It's probably a little bit less now. I think we've lost a couple fields in the last couple years to development. 200 acres on top of that is organic, and so that's my farm. My dad and I actually have separate farm businesses. Mine is organic, and his is conventional, and we share equipment back and forth, etc. As I mentioned, we do some maple syrup as well, pasture-raised chicken and eggs, and broilers that we sell out of the driveway, and I do custom seed cleaning. Next slide, please. So when I'm thinking about resiliency on the farm, so I would define it as the ability to weather external or internal adverse pressures, and those might look a little bit different for every farm, but I think extreme weather, financial pressure, or mental stress would be commonalities between a lot of farms. And I think that better management practices can help be more resilient in all of those. Next slide, please. So a couple of the BMPs that we practice on our farm. First off is a good crop rotation. So this is my organic crop rotation. There's 6 different crops in there. Dry beans or soybeans onto another year of soybeans, onto oats and peas in the spring, which is something new that I started to do this year. And I'm growing those together, intercropped, and then separating them and selling them as seed. And then going in for a nice early wheat crop that same fall, which worked tremendously this year. And I can't believe that I hadn't done it before. I was able to plant wheat September 17th, which is almost unheard of for us, and it looks absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited to see how that does. And from there, we spread red clover in the spring, and then occasionally take a cut of red clover seed out of that, and then onto corn. So good crop rotation, especially in the organic. It really helps with weed control, especially when you have the perennial crops in there. Helps to keep the annuals as well as the perennial weeds down. So thistle is a huge problem in organic. Helps keep the thistle down. It allows you perennial crops, which gives you that greater flexibility in terms of when they're planted and when they're harvested. You know, if it's a really wet spring, well, at least you have the red clover in, right? So you don't have to stress quite as much. And it gives you a little bit of flexibility as well for marketing, so you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket, which is nice. It also gives you more flexibility for cover crops. So that's another of our BMPs. We've done cover crops with rye, cover crops with oats and peas. Obviously, we use red clover pretty heavily. Red clover, we've always had really good success with. We have an air seeder that we put it on with, so it's set up on an old sprayer chassis, and so it puts the seed down really consistently. I know a lot of people will put it down with an ATV, which we did do for a while, and we just found that the stands are much better using the air seeder, and it's definitely worth the investment for that. I'm sure everyone's seen a picture before of this rainfall simulator on various different coverages of soil. This is a picture I took down in New York at a field day a couple of years ago. Off to the right is completely bare soil. Off to the left is complete perennial pasture, and then you have various levels of mulches and cover crops in between. You can see how much soil runoff there is, and how poor the water infiltration is on the right side there, and how excellent it is on the perennial. So the cover crops, they really do work. They help for decreasing soil disturbance, increasing the soil fertility, not just with the nitrogen fixing cover crops, but as Laura was talking about earlier, they seem to have some effect even beyond just the nitrogen fixing. And then, yeah, next slide. So another BMP we practice is no-till. My dad's conventional acres are almost 100% no-till. We only do very occasionally tilling to knock down some of the perennial weeds, burdock being one. Um, no-till to us, I don't know that we've seen a huge yield advantage off of it. And not that we've done tests side by side, but I think we've seen really big margin advantages off of it. So the labor savings are huge. There's only 3 or 4 of us in the spring to plant all of those acres. If we were having different people cultivating every field and disking every field before we went in, we'd still be planting right now, I think. Huge time savings from that perspective, and also huge fuel savings and equipment wear savings on top of that. The picture here is a field that we rent. That's trying to remember the soil type. It's a Pawnee Pool sand, which is a very light sand. This was a really big success story with cover crops. We've put cover crops as well as lime down on this. There are spots in the field that used to be basically beach sand. It literally looks like you're walking through the beach there. And in a matter of a couple of years, we were able to grow something on 100% of the field, which I think was a pretty cool thing to see. And the last one is manure. So manure obviously is fantastic. I don't know if any of you have heard Christine Brown speak on manure before. There's some really cool trials in England where they have put manure um, on different fields and haven't placed manure on in the last 100 years, and you can still see effects of the manure 100 years later, having no manure applied in that time. It's pretty cool. I actually did a bit of sharecropping this year with a dairy farmer who had just gotten out of dairy and gotten into some cropping. His farm had a century-long history of manure application. The soybeans on his farm versus soybeans on a farm we rent not too far from there. They had about the same amount of rainfall, which was not a lot this year. They had about the same soil type, and they were planted virtually the same day. And his were able to weather that drought event incredibly, and they actually ended up yielding twice what my other farm did, which was pretty cool to see. Right from the get-go, they just hopped out of the ground and they looked great all season, closed off the rows really early. And my other soybeans, they didn't even manage to close off the rows. And I think the only major difference there was the fertility and perhaps the organic matter increase from that manure application. And last but not least, so this is another BMP that maybe isn't soil specific, but I think really speaks to that financial resiliency perspective, is that we do maple syrup. And so that really provides us with another economic outlet, which I think is really important for farms to look at, especially as the weather seems to get a little bit crazier. Trees are guaranteed to get some kind of crop every year, which is great. It's really nice to spend some time in a forest in the late winter and spring. It's a really nice time to relax and take it in before kind of the craziness of spring, and it really helps with the biodiversity on farm as well. I always say we can't do our jobs if nature's not doing its job first. So I think that's it.
Yes, it is. Awesome. Thank you, Dean, and everybody else for your guys' presentations. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now, and we have some time for questions. So I would encourage the audience, please unmute, take your camera off if you'd like, or pop some questions in the chat for our farmer panels. We have a couple of minutes here. I can start by asking a question just to get things rolling a bit. I am curious to know if you had to pick 1 or 2 practices that you guys have all felt have been maybe the most impactful in improving resiliency on your farm. If you had to pick 1 or 2 practices, what would they be? And like, yeah, what have you seen from that? Steve, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, for one, plant a cover crop. And again, don't plant too much. Less is more is too much. And I'm not done spreading rye. I'm not throwing the towel in yet. The first year I did it in March, same time as red clover seeding, and it got about 4 inches high before I ended up planting soybeans on that field. So I've spread it after SWAC before. So I know it'll work. You can almost spread rye almost every month of the year. Another one, talk to your neighbors.
Mhm.
Don't talk to your neighbors. Talk to someone further away is probably going to be more honest with you because you're not in direct competition with them. So I talk to someone further away from you.
Awesome. That's an interesting one. I like the second one of like that social aspect is a good BMP to use, maybe to open your mind a bit sometimes. Love that. Thomas, go ahead.
I would say the cover crop and reduction of tillage, not necessarily elimination, but reduction. It's opened our soils up on our clays, especially. Um, we're not getting surface and wind erosion anymore from it on the rolling hills. I'm seeing the hills, as Steve was saying as well, starting to pull yields out of the hills that I wasn't getting before. And on our sands, again, more water holding capacity through those practices. So that combination, I'd say manure is a big deal, but it's not really a change practice for us, as it's been generations that we've had it there. So I would just say reduction in tillage and cover crop, regardless of the soil type, has been a big deal for us.
Has it been more challenging on maybe some of those heavier soils to adopt no-till? Or like I know you said the results have kind of been good across your soil types, but has there been challenges between the soil types in adopting the practice?
At the start, yes. I guess that'd be my other thing for advice is not to give up right away. We noticed it was probably 5 years or so for the system, the soils to kind of adapt and start to take off, get through a transition stage. At the start, I had complete failures attempting to straight no-till into a heavy clay with a cover crop on it. With that strip made in the heavy clay and a few more years of doing it, not anymore. It works on all of them. The other spot I would say there's been a challenge, though, would just be a mental challenge of getting my head wrapped around. I can pull into a Brookston clay and do that, and it's not going to be a disaster.
Awesome. And Dean?
I would say crop rotation. Our corn after red clover is always fantastic. It's always good. It's really nice being able to have that red clover seeded down in the spring and know you don't have to rush to try to put something on um, after the wheat comes off. Um, yeah, I would say that's one, and then the other is no-till. Um, just to drive home that point of, um, even if the yield isn't fantastically better than conventional, your margins are going to be better, and your mental health is going to be better, not having to kill yourself doing tillage before planting and um, you know, stretching yourself thin, um, thinking about planting in the spring.
Yeah. Yeah, on that cover crop point too, it's really cool to see like the data that's like Laura shared earlier on the benefits of winter wheat and having the ability to have that extra nitrogen cycling just from having the winter wheat in the rotation. So yeah, cool. Hi Norm, I see your camera's on. Go ahead.
Thanks, Lorraine. Hi, Thomas. Nice to meet you. Quick question regarding your sorghum Sudan grass. Are you putting manure on with that, or are you feeding it? And when you're taking it off, are you wrapping it wet or ensiling it?
I don't put manure on it. I personally, I got enough acres to put manure on. I buy a little bit of commercial nitrogen, put on about 40 units is what I feed it. Then this fall, after the sorghum came off, I went out and applied some manure then. Uh, Personal choice. I don't like putting manure out and then hauling that back into the barn to feed the cattle. We ensiloed it in a tower silo this year. We've either baled and wrapped or put it in a tower, but this year was in a tower.
Perfect. Thanks.
Go ahead, Kelsey.
Yeah. So aside from farming, I also have my own independent agronomy business. And I have a few customers of mine. And I guess I'm kind of throwing this back at you guys a little bit on this, but I've been working on trying to create crop plans for them that will make their farms more resilient. And I'd love to know, like, I have a few cow calf guys there that some of them, they're still doing kind of what their grandparents did, and they're still doing like deep plows and everything. So I'm trying to work with them a little bit on minimizing tillage, which kind of goes into what you were saying, Thomas, as well. So what are some key things that I should be telling them? I come from a crops background, not a livestock, so I'd like to know what are some things from your side with the livestock. Like, what are some positive things that would be a benefit to them, other than soil side too?
Uh, Iowa labor savings. Which way are you going with like the secondary feed crops or just with minimizing tillage?
Yeah, it would probably be, well, it's a bit of both. Like, I have some guys that I have one, for example, that is cow calf, and he's interested in getting into rotational grazing, which is good, but it's working with his other crops as well. So getting into um like, for example, this year, like, he put in winter wheat, and then we put in red clover um as a cover crop within. So that's kind of, I guess, like, I'm asking, what are the first steps in terms of, like, from a livestock side? Like, is it adding any additional nutrition to the end crop?
So it depends. Like with the sorghum, I found if you want to get good yields from it, you need to make sure you're putting on some nitrogen to push that yield. Um, but it all depends as far as anything else. I would say it would depend on your soil levels.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure you've got adequate nitrogen if you want it to grow. One reason I like the sorghum over the oats or anything anybody else uses is it's bred for Texas. So if it gets started, you'll get a crop. And it's just to have enough acres. It's not always a huge crop as we had this year, but and then if you're trying to pull away from tillage, a crop like that's great because if you take it as a cut after you have very little residue or anything to deal with the next year, so you don't have to worry about a great big mat of any residues to get through. So I always found it kind of helps out both ways. If you're able to get manure out after, again, you're putting out a nitrogen source and helping the biology as well to help break down anything else that is remaining there. But it can leave you with an extremely loamy soil when you're done.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. Well, I appreciate you telling me that.
Steve, do you have anything to add? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing would be quit plow. If he's plowing and then you're going to graze corn stalks, if you get ground like right now, they're going to be sinking up to their bellies in mud. Whereas no-till and cover crops with more meat in the soil or more porosity, the soil's going to carry them. My cows are on corn stalks with a single braid wire around them between that and a busy highway, and as long as they're not hungry, they're happy. And they're walking through 8 inches of snow with their nose down, and they're finding stuff to eat. And I'm figuring I got enough corn stalks to graze till at least the 1st of February before I'll get the hay feeder out. So that's where I think I can make money having beef. And I think red clover is maybe not the best thing to graze. I think oats and peas might be a little better for tonnage to get some cover crop, but that's how I'm making it so I don't have to haul hay to the cows. Like cows are meant to graze. And then as soon as you're feeding them hay, they're not eating anything else in that field they're in. So I find the day I start feeding hay is the day they're done grazing. But and if you do start feeding hay, move the feeder every day. That's your manure spreader. I got a hook hanging on the loader and a hook welded on the feeder. So I just drive up, hook the feeder 50 or 100 feet, and that's where I feed them the next bale. So every bale, you're spreading your manure every day because that's where they're pooping is around the feeder.
Well, that's good to know. Well, I appreciate your answers.
I'd also add, if you are going to rotationally graze those cattle, to make sure, like again, park the plow, don't rip it up, because if you're out down 8
Yeah, for
inches
sure.
and it gets wet, those cattle are going to sink down 8 inches. It's no different than when you pull them with a combine. If you've been ripping up the soil every year, you're going to sink to the bottom of that pan. The cattle's feet will do the same thing if you get in there. But if you are going to
Yes.
go with sorghum with the idea of grazing, that's maybe not the best fit, because the sorghum, it won't handle the frost. So if you're looking to go late, I would steer
Mhm.
away from it.
Yeah.
That's poisonous to
No,
cows
sorry,
too.
his end.
Yeah.
Yeah, his end goal, sorry, I should say, is that he wants to get into rotational grazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he
So I
knows that
would
we have
I wouldn't
steps to
recommend
get
sorghum
there.
the same at
So
that
that's
point.
why I was
Yeah.
wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend sorghum for that. And but I would agree, get rid of the plow and the primary tillage, because the cattle are going to plow the field for you if that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks.
Thanks for your question, Kelsey. Any last minute questions here, or else we're gonna start to wrap it up? Any takers? If not, thanks. Thank you, Laura, Steve, Dean, and Thomas. That was a great session. Ian, you can probably stop the recording.